The Farmer and the Wizard of Willow Creek. In the quiet countryside of Kansas, there lived a poor farmer named Daniel Carter. Daniel owned a small piece of land near a town called Willow Creek. The farm had belonged to his family for generations, but years of drought had turned its rich soil into dry, cracked earth. Every morning, Daniel worked from sunrise until darkness, yet no matter how hard he tried, his crops continued to die. One evening, Daniel opened his old wooden box and counted the last few dollars he had. "If the rain doesn't come soon," he whispered, "I will lose everything." That night, a violent storm appeared without warning. The wind shook the farmhouse and lightning tore across the sky. Daniel heard someone knocking at his door. When he opened it, he found an old man standing in the rain. The stranger wore a long gray coat and carried a wooden staff decorated with a glowing blue stone. "Please," said the old man, "may I stay here until the storm passes?" Daniel had almost no food left, but he invited the stranger inside. He gave him dry clothes, a place beside the fire, and half of his final loaf of bread. The old man looked at him with surprise. "You have so little," he said. "Why would you share your last meal with a stranger?" Daniel smiled gently. "Because hunger feels the same whether you know someone or not." At that moment, the old man stood up. The room filled with golden light, and his wet clothes transformed into magnificent silver robes. "My name is Alaric," he announced. "I am the last guardian of the ancient magic hidden beneath this land." Daniel stepped back in disbelief. "Are you a wizard?" Alaric smiled. "And tonight you have shown me that your heart is still generous even when your hands are empty. For that reason, I will give you 3 extraordinary powers." The wizard touched Daniel's forehead with his glowing staff. "First, you will be able to hear the voice of the earth. It will tell you what it needs." He touched Daniel's right hand. "Second, you will be able to awaken any seed, even in the driest soil." Finally, he touched Daniel's heart. "Third, you will be able to summon rain." Daniel stared at his hands as golden light moved beneath his skin. "But remember this warning," he said. "These powers will remain only while you use them to help others. The moment greed takes control of your heart, the magic will disappear." Before Daniel could reply, lightning flashed outside. The wizard vanished, leaving only the smell of rain and a single blue feather on the floor. The next morning, Daniel walked into his field and placed his hand on the ground. For the first time, he heard the earth speaking. "I am thirsty," it whispered, "but beneath the old oak tree, water is sleeping." Daniel dug beside the tree and discovered an underground spring. Then he planted his final handful of seeds and pressed his palms against the soil. "Wake up," he whispered. Golden light spread across the field. Green shoots immediately rose from the earth. Then Daniel lifted his hands toward the sky. Dark clouds gathered above the farm, and warm rain began to fall. Within days, Daniel's farm was covered with the healthiest corn and wheat anyone in Willow Creek had ever seen. But Daniel did not keep the miracle to himself. He restored his neighbors' dying fields, filled their empty and gave food to struggling families. Soon, Willow Creek became one of the most prosperous farming communities in Kansas. News of Daniel's gift traveled across the country. One afternoon, a wealthy businessman named Victor Kane arrived in a black limousine. He offered Daniel $10 million to use his magic exclusively for Kane's agricultural company. "With your magic," Victor said, "we could control the food supply of the entire nation." Daniel shook his head. Food should save people. It should never be used to control them. Victor's smile disappeared. That night, Victor secretly set fire to Daniel's barn, hoping fear would force him to accept the offer. When Daniel saw the flames, he raised his hands and summoned a powerful rainstorm. The fire went out, but the storm grew stronger than he expected. Thunder shook the valley, rivers began to overflow, and water rushed toward the town. Daniel realized that anger had entered his heart. The golden light in his hands started to fade. He remembered the wizard's warning. He closed his eyes and let go of his hatred. I do not want revenge. I only want to protect my people. Immediately, his powers returned. Daniel placed both hands on the ground and listened carefully. The water needs a new path, the earth whispered. Using his magic, he opened a deep channel through an empty field. The floodwater changed direction and flowed safely into a nearby lake. The town was saved. Victor Kane was arrested after witnesses revealed what he had done, but Daniel refused to celebrate Victor's downfall. Instead, he visited him in jail. You tried to destroy everything I loved, but I will not allow your darkness to change who I am. For the first time in his life, Victor felt ashamed. Years passed, and Daniel continued using his gifts to help farmers across America. He brought rain to drought-stricken lands, restored forests destroyed by fire wilds, and taught communities how to care for the earth. He never became a rich man. He still lived in his small farmhouse and wore the same old boots. But wherever crops grew again and hungry families received food, people remembered his name. One evening, many years later, Daniel sat beneath the old oak tree and watched the sunset. A familiar voice came from behind him. You used the gifts wisely. Daniel turned and saw Alaric standing there, unchanged by time. The magic was never truly in my hands, was it? Daniel asked. The wizard smiled. No, the greatest magic was always in your heart. The powers only allowed the world to see it. Alaric touched the ground with his staff. Thousands of golden flowers suddenly appeared across the field. Then he disappeared into the evening light. From that day forward, the people of Willow Creek told their children the story of the poor farmer who could command the earth and call rain from the sky. But Daniel always taught them one simple truth. Real power is not measured by what you can take from the world. It is measured by what you choose to give. And whenever someone in Willow Creek performed an act of kindness, a tiny golden flower appeared somewhere on Daniel's farm. Because true magic never disappears. It simply passes from one generous heart to another. Wells